We're going down. Now, if that goes down, to keep raising interest rates, all those bonds will crash because, who wants a 5% bond when you get a 10% bond? And the rumor is, this is according to Andy Schectman, a long shot is this: Japan may join the BRICS, Brazil, India. And what will happen is then, instead of a bailout, bailouts, what happened with Lehman Brothers in 2008. Andy Schectman says this is called a 3 times crash. All paper assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs crash. Real estate's going to crash. And this is going to crash, the US dollar.
Robert Kiyosaki issued a tweet at the beginning of the month forecasting bank runs, frozen money, and other bail-ins, urging his followers to buy silver coins and be prepared for what was to come. Fast forward to a few days ago, and we've got 3 major bank crises, frozen money, and bailouts, precisely as Kiyosaki prophesied. Aside from the March 1st Twitter prediction, Kiyosaki has also tweeted about the state of the economy. He discusses the Inflation Reduction Act, which he believes is garbage and is destroying the poor and middle class. He also tweeted 3 days ago that 2 large banks had failed and that there were 3 more to go. Although it is unclear whether this is a prophecy of further crashes, he urged his followers to acquire gold and silver as the only safety net. He also reacted to Biden's announcement of a rescue for Silicon Valley Bank, claiming that Biden must be high to believe that it would not affect taxpayers. Kiyosaki discusses his forecasts and why they are still true in today's video. He also discusses unemployment, debt, and the direction of inflation. Enjoy the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and switch on post alerts.
But what's happening is that, so the BRICS nation are coming, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now Saudi Arabia coming after us. What's happening is that in 2017, the BIS, Bank of International Settlements, made gold tier 1 asset. See, up until then, the US Treasury was tier 1 assets. So the whole world is filled with US Treasuries and bonds. And as you and I have talked over the years, I don't like Treasuries and bonds, and because they're fake. So what's going to happen is when they keep raising interest rates, those treasuries they're becoming worthless. Let's say you have a treasury at 5% or a bond at 5%, and the interest rates go to 10%. Going to collapse the system. So like Japan, which has had quantitative easing for years and years and years and years now, is filled with US treasuries. So is China. So is the Fed. And so it just started to happen, a few months, 2017 again. There was a reverse repo. And a reverse repo was what happened just before 2008 in America. And a reverse repo is very simply this: is what happens is the Fed will give money to, let's say, a tier 1 bank, like let's say Bank of America. A reverse repo is this. So if a Fed gives money to Bank of America, that's called a repo. So they're backing up Bank of America. A reverse repo is Bank of America and all the tier 1 banks give it back to the Fed. They don't want the money. They don't want the bond. And it's not they don't want the bond. When they give the money, when the bank, let's say Bank of America, gives the money back to the Fed, that's saying we don't want to lend money anymore. Bank of America, when they give all those treasuries back or the bonds back to the Fed, people will run on Bank of America, and Bank of America will say, so you and I go to the bank and say, we want our money back. We want our savings back. And Bank of America says, our door is shut because there's a run on the bank. But guess what? Instead of your cash or your savings, we'll give you back stock in Bank of America. That's a bail-in. Now, I hope it doesn't happen, but that's what I was writing about. So as you know, I'm a huge gold, silver nut. And I would rather have silver right now, which is the biggest bargain in world history today. It's the real estate was my generation's investment because it was debt. For your generation, it's silver, because today in America, it's cost me $30 to buy a silver eagle. $30. You know, this stuff is trash. This is trash here. Cash is trash. So that's a bail in, bail out. That's what happens. You have a repo and a reverse repo. So the reverse repo is the banks are giving back the money to the Fed. We don't want it. I think it's here to stay for a while. And the reason is, it's not that they printed, you know, trillions after COVID. But the real reason is what was the first act that Communist Joe Biden did? His first act was he cut off the Keystone XL pipeline from Canada to America. And I sell oil. I don't, you know, I used to be an oil tanker officer for Standard Oil. I don't touch paper assets. I don't touch stocks, bonds. I wouldn't buy an Exxon stock. I wouldn't buy Standard Oil stock or Chevron, whatever they call it now. I buy the physical oil. And my oil wells are in Dakota, North Dakota, Louisiana, and Texas. And so I was selling oil. Biden comes to office. My friend Donald Trump, Trump and I have written 2 books together. He's a good friend of mine. And what happened is, when Biden took office, his first act was to cut off the Keystone XL pipeline, again, running from Alberta to America. I was selling oil on that day for $30 a barrel on the spot exchange, as you know. That day went to $130 a barrel. When that happened, I knew what Biden was up to, or the communists are up to. By the way, this is one of the first books I read at school. It's called The Communist Manifesto. I read this in 1965. I went to the Academy in New York. Anyway, as soon as Biden cut off the Keystone, oil went from 30 to 130 a barrel. Immediately, I knew what he was doing. They're crushing the poor and middle class. So this is the irony of it, David. Guys like me get richer. So, you know, you sell oil from $30, also getting 130. I almost voted for Biden after that one. I said, thank you, Joe. But then I realized what he's doing. He's going to crush the poor and middle class. And that sets us up for revolution, David. Well, job stands for just over broke. Because of taxes. Who pays the highest taxes? You know, that was my second book, Cash Flow Quadrant. Employees around the world, David, employees pay 40% in tax around the world. The second are self-employed or small business entrepreneurs or doctors and lawyers, self-employed. They pay 60%. Big business guys like me pay 20%, and hardcore inside investors like me pay 0%. We don't pay taxes. That's why when Trump was running for office against Hillary, and Hillary said to him, well, we don't pay taxes, and Trump says, because I'm smart. The reason I don't pay taxes is simply because, you know, there's 3 types of income: earned, portfolio, passive. Passive income is 0%. Portfolio is 20%. That's when you flip stocks, you flip real estate. And earned is when you work for money, like a doctor, a lawyer, or an employee. That's 40%. So it's just common sense. You just check the tax rates. I wrote that in Cash Flow Quadrant, my second book.
Considering how many prophecies have come true, it is important to pay attention to the state of the economy and take sensible precautions to avoid suffering severe losses. In order to ensure that you don't lose out on this, we must continue to provide you with balanced and accurate financial news. Click the subscribe button as soon as possible. For the best chance of not missing any of our videos, please like us and enable notifications. Many thanks for tuning in.